Okay, we'll get started. I'll call the meeting to order. If you could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to the September sixth, 2018 Town of Riverhead Planning Board meeting. First item on our agenda tonight is a discussion item for a minor subdivision of Anthony Golfo.
Okay, so basically we received a application for a two-lot minor subdivision, seeking to subdivide a 49,114 square foot vacant parcel at 101 Longview Drive, also known as Longview Road, in Wading River, into two substandard parcels. One of 24,397 square feet and another of 24,717 square feet, approximately 0.5 acres. The subject parcels are located in the RB 80 zoning use district, which requires a minimum lot size of 80,000 square feet. So, they're basically a variance for insufficient lot size is needed from the zoning board of appeals. The applicant should request a denial from the zoning officer. I just made a note that it should be kept in mind for when the homes are to be built, that the RB 80 zoning district only allows 15% impervious surface, so that should be kept in mind. Also, just want to mention that they may need lot line setback variances depending on how they configure the building. Basically, it's a wood parcel located on the west side of Longview Drive, or Road, in Wading River. It's 300 foot north of Pine Street and 450 feet south of Cedar Street. Sign at the intersection of North Wading River Road and Cliff Road identifies the community as Heartwood on the Sound. I don't know if that helps anyone locate it. As I said, there's some inconsistency in the street name. The street sign lists Longview Road, so does the assessor's office and the town GIS system. But the tax map album and the Schedule A descriptions in the title list Longview Drive. So, again, there's some discrepancy there, but I think we all know where it's located. Adjacent to the parcel are single-family homes to the north and south, and Little Flower Children and Family Services to the west. The lots to the north and south are just over a half acre in size, according to our GIS. Across Longview Drive are 4 single-family homes, and those are just under a quarter acre in size for the GIS. So I did provide a aerial view on bottom of page 2, and some pictures I took at the end of July on page 3. You have a view looking north with the parcel to the left on top, and you have a view to the south with the parcel to the right on the bottom. The parcel is within Groundwater Management Zone 8 and Extension 35 of the Water District. There's a 6-inch water main along the west side of Longview Drive and a fire hydrant at the northwest corner of the parcel, which can be seen in figure 3. The parcel is fairly level. The lowest is about 111 feet above sea level at the southwest corner of the parcel, and it gradually increases to approximately 119 feet towards the northern side of the parcel. The site's not within an archaeologically sensitive area. As far as the application goes, the application listed the owner as Golfo Development. However, the assessor's office and the title certification had the owners as Frank and Luisa Gamarosa. A letter was provided from the attorney indicating the closing for the parcel took place on May 8th, and Golfo Development acquired title, but the deed had not been recorded and returned. So the letter did enclose a copy of the deed, which the attorney indicated was true and accurate. So basically, proof of a properly recorded deed will be needed prior to any subdivision approvals. Oh, thank you. Here we have that. Access to both of the proposed parcels would be from Longview Drive. It's basically taking a rectangular lot and splitting it in two. The minor subdivision is inconsistent with the town's zoning and land use regulations because they're substandard and inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. The town's environmental planner classified it as unlisted and recommended the planning board assume lead agency and further recommended a coordinated review, with involved agencies being the ZBA, Highway, Water, Building Department, and the Suffolk County Department of Health. Basically, the coordinated review would permit the zoning board and the planning board to review the application, but each board would make no decisions until a determination of significance was made. Again, the subject parcels are within groundwater management zone 8, and the subdivision lots appear to comply with the Suffolk County Department of Health Services wastewater management requirements for 1 single-family residence per lot. I did forward the application to the building department, the highway superintendent, the town engineer, and the water district. Since the report was written, I did receive comments from the town engineer in a memo dated August 7th. He indicated that an erosion and sediment control plan must be prepared in conformance with the DEC general stormwater permit and wanted plot plans of the proposed work. So that was forwarded to the applicant. Subsequently, I also heard from the highway superintendent. He said since it was a runoff area, he wanted some drainage. So I forwarded that to the town engineer, and he wanted to see 2-foot contours so he could determine what type of drainage would be needed. And I forwarded that as well. As far as the title report, they didn't find anything other than these 3 restrictions. Any structures on the premises shall be for residential purposes only, and not more than 1 dwelling unit shall be constructed per 100 foot of road frontage on Longview Road. No dwelling or structure shall extend closer than 20 feet from the nearest line of Longview Road. That every dwelling constructed on the premises shall contain a concrete or concrete block foundation, and no such dwelling shall be constructed on a foundation of posts. So basically, they are showing 100-foot road frontage. The minimum RB 80 front yard setback is 60 feet, so if they comply with that, there shouldn't be an issue. And the part about the foundation of posts would be handled at the building permit stage. I don't think that should be an issue. Again, there would be a recreation fee of $3,000 per lot, before the issuance of a CO. I mistakenly sent this to the Suffolk County Planning Commission. They came back with a letter of no jurisdiction. So basically, in order to move forward, they have to pursue getting their ZBA for insufficient lot size.
Is there anything precedent setting about the application? Because there's substandard lots, or been done before?
Yeah, I'm sure it's been done before.
It's been done before.
We did it,
Putting on the record, that's all.
the 2 other locations just in the past year in the numbered streets, right?
That I'm not sure about.
Well, if you look at the community, most all the lots in that community are small lots.
Right, I did say that in my report. It's not out of character with the community.
Maybe non-conforming, but it's conforming.
Well, it's consistent with the neighborhood, so.
Right.
The entire south, except for the 2 Golfo subdivisions, Crescent on the Sound and North Woods, the entire community north of 25A is less than a half acre. So I'm not positive. We're doing some more title work. This might have been 2 lots, because this lot is completely out of character with that community if you look at the tax map. So we have precedent. I'm about to make a very large FOIL request, unless I can tie it down, bring it down a little bit to pull in some of the other zoning board of appeals, but far back as 2009, 2008, lots like these that were split, and, it probably is consistent in some respect to the master plan, because, listen, when you're coming out of a recession, housing starts are a big thing. We need all housing starts so we can get middle income, middle class housing, are what the town needs. The master plan calls it affordable housing, but I'm gonna call it middle income housing. This is a middle income community, there's gonna be middle income housing. If you were to put a 1 acre lot in the middle of here, it wouldn't fit into the community, and it wouldn't be consistent with the master plan. So we're gonna make, the application, we're gonna submit 2 different plans. I don't have the letter for the contour map. Do you have,
Oh, the memo?
the memo? Cause I could take a picture of it if you don't mind, or did you wanna email that? Cause I don't have the one saying the 2-foot contour lines. You and I had a conversation
Oh,
about that.
that was just an email,
Right, do you need that across all the parcels or just the road?
no, I believe he wants to see it, the parcels and probably into the road, but, you could certainly contact Drew and see exactly
Okay.
what he wants.
But we're gonna submit to the planning department 2 sets of surveys, one with a building envelope, consistent, with what we're gonna build, and then the one that you folks are looking for the final subdivision.
Right, the chief building inspector wanted to see a building envelope on his plan for when he does his denial, but, it's apparently planning department policy now not to show, or planning board policy not to show the building envelope on the subdivision plan.
We just don't wanna go to the zoning board of appeals twice, cause if we do an area variance, we might as well, if we need lot, side yard, front yard, rear yard, let's get it all done at once. So our goal is to try to submit this, get it on in October. The ZBA. Pending my large FOIL request that I'm trying to pare down.
Okay, any other questions from the board?
Nope. All right, thank you very much, gentlemen, have a wonderful evening.
We'll see you again.
Oh, so refreshing to be able to just walk out. Have a great evening. Take care.
Okay, next item is a minor subdivision of Joseph LaRussa.
Tracy Shaleski, SCHLASKE, JW Consulting, PO Box 674, Quorum, 11727.
So the planning department has received and reviewed a 2-lot minor subdivision application, which is seeking to legalize an illegal subdivision which was done by deed in 1950 without any subdivision approvals from the town of Riverhead. The proposed subdivision application would result in the creation of 2 lots of substandard size for the RB 80 zoning district in which it's located, where a minimum lot size of 80,000 square feet is required. The sizes of the 2 lots that are being proposed are 25,188 square feet, and the other lot will be 20,000 square feet. The application will also require variances for existing structures on the property, whose side yard setback would become non-conforming as a result of the aforementioned application, as well as for building setbacks for any proposed structures on the newly created lot. The impervious coverage on what will be the newly created lot is proposed to be 15%, which complies with requirements of the town code. It is unclear what the impervious surface coverage would be on the developed lot, and that's something that needs to be shown prior to subdivision approval, just so that it can be contemplated if it requires any variances. The subject parcels are located on the south side of North Wading River Road, approximately 210 feet east of the intersection with North Country Road. Although both lots have individual tax numbers, they are not single and separate, as no subdivision has been approved by the town yet. For SECRA, the application has been reviewed and it's considered a type 2 action with no further environmental review required. The lot is presently improved with a roughly 1,100 square foot one-story, single-family residence, which is situated on the eastern side of the property. You can see a street-level view on the second page of my staff report. And the western portion of the property, which is presently vacant, would be the site of a new proposed two-story, single-family residence. The subject parcel is located entirely within the Riverhead Water District Extension number 35. And the existing single-family residence is connected to public water via the 8-inch water main located in the North Wading River Road right-of-way. The newly proposed lot and dwelling would also be served from this water main. Access is currently taken from North Wading River Road. The subdivision is approved. The newly created lot would also take access off of North Wading River Road, which would require a road opening permit from the Town of Riverhead Highway Department. With regards to the community character, although most of the Wading River area is zoned RB 80, which requires the 80,000 square foot lots, a large majority of the lots located in Wading River are pre-existing non-conforming in terms of size. On page 3 of the staff report, I detailed some of the existing lot sizes in the immediate vicinity of it. The proposed lot sizes from this subdivision would result in parcels of 0.45 acres and 0.57 acres, which although it is still slightly below the average in the area, it's not completely out of character. At the time of the publishing and distribution of the staff report, I hadn't received comments from the town attorney's office regarding the title report. Since the report was distributed, I have received comments. Town attorney's office did not find any restrictive covenants or restrictions that would prohibit the subdivision, and they proved the ownership, so there was no issues with the title report. Subject parcels are located within groundwater management zone 8, which allows 600 gallons per day of sanitary flow. The overall size of the total parcel is 1.037 acres. The single-family house is ascribed 300 gallon per day flow, so it does appear as though it would meet the Suffolk County Department of Health Services requirements for groundwater. The proposed subdivision would require approval from the Suffolk County Health Department prior to the filing of the map with other county departments. If approved, the subdivision map would need to be filed with Suffolk County Real Property Tax Service, and would also need to be filed with the Suffolk County Clerk. The referral of this application to the Suffolk County Planning Commission was not required. So staff recommendations to wrap it up would be to calculate the impervious coverage on the presently improved lot, just to ensure that it meets the code of the town code, and if not, that they can receive a variance for it. If the applicant is able to obtain the necessary variances from the Riverhead Zoning Board of Appeals, and if the planning board approves the subdivision map should take off structures and setbacks, as Karen just stated, and should just show the meets and bounds of the two newly created lots.
Okay.
Board have any questions?
Very similar to the last one, right?
Exactly.
I'm just curious of the idea that in 1950, I don't know if there were any rules and regulations with regard to subdivisions. It was done by deed. Was it not filed, is that right, perhaps, with the county clerk, so there was no record of it?
Well, it was filed, and they were each assigned tax map numbers, so it did go to the Suffolk County Real Property Tax Service, but there was never any subdivision application that was made by the town, so the town never approved the subdivision. I'm not exactly sure how they got the tax map.
In 1950, was there a planning department?
No.
So if a subdivision were to be made, does the town have authority to create one?
It probably would have gone to the town board.
Yeah, town board. Town board?
I wasn't around then.
No, I wasn't on. Okay, I'm just curious about history.
I do, unless the board has any objections, I do have a resolution on at this meeting, which would schedule a public hearing. Obviously, we can move forward with that, but the planning board can't approve it until they get any required variances.
This is actually pretty common nowadays, where you have one tax bill and two lots. I have one myself.
Okay, any other questions?
They she did receive a denial from the building department, so she will go forward with the ZBA application and move along.
The proposed house is, presently, the way they have it designed is actually undersized on the first floor. I mean, what they're asking for with the second house is quite modest. So, you know, and the LaRussos are gonna remain in the area, so they're not, you know, it's not like, you know, develop and run. So it matters to them what the neighborhood continues to look like.
Board have any other questions?
No, you familiar with the publishing and posting for the,
Yes.
public hearing? Okay. All right, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll call you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a minor subdivision map of Henry Silverman. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped,
Hold on, Henry,
number 3. Sorry. I didn't see them here, I don't know if they're here.
Mark Diodabo, the New England Real Estate Properties representative, unfortunately had an emergency, and Bowler Engineering couldn't, they only had someone who was unfamiliar with the project, so they didn't really think it was appropriate to send someone who had no knowledge of it. I mean, I'm still prepared to speak about the details of the final site plan. I mean, there is some engineering stuff that, you know, I can't speak to, and Mr. Guardiola is not here, but I think it would be okay to just
That's fine.
present what they've
So just for the record, the item is NERP Holdings Tractor Supply.
Correct. So the applicant has submitted a revised final site plan, which was revised to address some of the issues that were, lingering from the preliminary site plan approval. One of the issues that came up was the phased development. What the applicant is proposing is a 4-building campus-style development, Tractor Supply being the main anchor tenant. As of right now, they do not currently have tenants for the other 3 buildings. You know, the planning board agreed that it wasn't appropriate to have them build buildings just to lay empty. So the applicant's design professional has prepared a phasing plan, which is broken down into 3 phases. Phase 1A, Phase 1B, and then Phase 2. Phase 1A contains a scope of work which will include grading the common roadway in the rear of the site, installation of all proposed pavement, curbing, striping within the common roadway, installation of all drainage structures, installation of the proposed water main, installation of all proposed utilities within the common roadway, and all proposed improvements within the right-of-way of Middle Country Road. Phase 1B consists of the construction of the proposed Tractor Supply building with their outdoor fenced sales area, installation of all on-site pavement, curbing, striping, all sidewalks abutting the Tractor Supply building and the outdoor sales area, installation of all proposed on-site drainage structures, landscaping in accordance with the site plan approval, lighting in accordance with the site plan approval, all the proposed Tractor Supply utilities, water and fire services, utilities, and then future utilities will be installed and sleeved. Future water and fire services will be installed and capped, and the future building pads are going to be seeded with lawn and pitched into a temporary drain. So they're basically gonna develop the site and leave the 3 pad sites grassed, so that they just, you know, it will remain attractive until they can find tenants, at which time they will construct it. The Phase 2, which really deals with the other 3 buildings, construction of retail building A, installation of sidewalks, sanitary systems, trash enclosures, water and fire services, connecting all drainage structures, and removing the temporary drain from the seeded pad area. And then they will also construct buildings B and C as tenants are coming in. Approval of the phase development plan will require review and comments from the town's consulting engineer. However, staff did have some questions, which Bowler earlier this afternoon had just emailed to me. One of the questions was, during phase 2 construction, where will the construction equipment and materials be staged? Bowler did provide us with a map. I believe I've distributed copies to you. They do show areas. Now, the main Tractor Supply site only requires 77 parking spaces. I believe they said they're, at the phase 1, they're gonna be providing 147 stalls. So they're gonna have an excess of parking as to what's needed, so a lot of those excess parking areas can be used as staging areas for construction equipment and materials. And one thing that I also wanted to know was that during this phase two construction, I wanted to ensure that the site is going to be navigable by emergency vehicles. This was important because when the plan was originally designed, they had a cul-de-sac at the southern end of the proposed common roadway. Being that the site was wide enough and had enough access for emergency vehicles to navigate through the site, I spoke with the fire marshal's office and they were okay with the elimination of that cul-de-sac, and they, agreed that it met the state fire codes for access. Moving on from the phase development plan, as I said, the cul-de-sac was eliminated at the southern terminus of the common roadway, and then beyond the common roadway, the applicant has proposed an RCA base for truck traffic entering and exiting from the Calverton Industries site, which will continue to operate. Cross-section and construction details of the proposed RCA base must be provided, and the town's consulting engineer must review the proposed design. Mr. Gaudiello did provide us comments this afternoon, which, Bowler did provide. I haven't had a chance to review them in depth, so I don't wanna comment on them just yet. I wanna get a chance to digest them and have Mr. Gaudiello respond. With regards to water and utility easements through the common roadway, the site plan does denote a 10-foot wide easement with the Riverhead Water District and another 10-foot wide utility easement for electrical and gas lines. The plan needs to be updated to include bearings and distances for these easements so that they can generate Schedule A descriptions when they go to, file those easements. Staff also noted on the plan that there are fire hydrant located at the southwestern corner of the Tractor Supply site. In the map and plan that was designed by H2M Architects and Engineers for the town, that fire hydrant was supposed to be contained within an easement. It was gonna be dedicated to the Riverhead Water District. The plan that the applicant submitted did not show that, so that just needs to be updated as per the map and plan. I did speak with them, they were okay with that. Prior to final site plan approval, the utility easements must be drafted and reviewed by council to the planning board. It also the plan needs to be updated to show an access easement through the entirety of that common roadway. The New England Retail Properties has just provided me with a draft of the easement, which I will provide to council for his review and comment. With regards to maintenance of the common roadway, I did peruse the easement that they submitted. They did contain language as to who would maintain the roadway, who would construct it, shared costs, that kind of thing. Again, that will need to be reviewed by council. The site plan indicates 6 traffic barrels at the southern terminus of the common roadway, as well as do not enter signage. I just wanted clarification as to if those were meant to be permanent fixtures. I spoke with Bowler Engineering. They are intended to be permanent, meaning the Calverton Industries, as they're entering and exiting the site, the truck drivers can move these barrels. It's really done to prevent people from driving back into the Calverton Industries site, which I agree, there should be some measure of, preventing that.
Do we really think the truck drivers are gonna get in and out of their trucks every single time they wanna go in and out of there?
You just read my mind.
I agree, but I do think there should be some measure
No, I
to
agree
prevent
too,
people.
but I don't know that that's.
I don't know what the most I thought maybe if there was a chain, but that would still require the truck driver to get out of his truck. On that end, maybe having the truck driver come in so that they don't sort of fly into the site and have to, downshift and,
They're gonna leave that all RCA, you said too, that dust could be an issue back there.
yeah.
What about a gate? What about a gate that would operate only on one side?
I'm just wondering if they have electric there.
Yeah,
That's not
well, that would be,
Yeah.
that would be the fix.
Do they have electric right there?
Maybe a gate on one side, on their side.
I mean, that's something I can definitely run by the applicant. Cut and fill calculations were provided by the applicant's design professional, indicated that the site, in order to make their grades, will require the importation of about 13,000 cubic yards of earth and material, which will require a chapter 229 permit from the town board prior to the importation of the fill. as per the conditions of the preliminary site plan approval, the site plan was revised to include a note that, the site plan was supposed to be revised, that the irrigation system would be fed by well water as opposed to public water. The site plan doesn't contain this note, and I just wanna make sure that they do revise it to include that. I've spoken with them, and they agreed that they would include that note.
Just a note while you, excuse me for interrupting, just a note on this fill. The 13,130, make sure it's not coming from within.
Well, and that's a conversation I spoke to, the chief building inspector. Even if it does come from within the site, they're still gonna be required to get that 229 permit.
Okay.
You know, Sky Materials operates on they're gonna take material into the site, they're gonna take material out. You know, shifting it around, in the chief building inspector's opinion, does not obviate them from requiring that 229 permit. One issue with the landscaping, came up in the chief building inspector's review of the revised site plan. Indicated that the eastern property boundary, needs to be buffered with a 10-foot wide vegetative buffer maintained to a height of 8 feet. However, the old town code section also states that the planning board can waive this requirement. Now, being that the site to the east of the Tractor Supply is undeveloped right now, does the planning board want to see that vegetative buffer? It is a big stretch of property and would require a significant amount of landscaping. Yes.
Forgetting the fact that it's happening that we develop an application of marijuana, what's on the applicant's property within, along their side of the property line? Is it stripped of any vegetation, does it have vegetation?
They did mention something here in their response.
If I could offer a suggestion, Fred, to the board is, if you go out there to take pictures of what's out there, and then bring it back to the board so you can see what's out there, whether that needs keeping up, or maybe what's out there is adequate as it is.
I can verify that, Bowler Engineering, in their response, they did say that the easterly adjacent property has a natural screening of mature trees that exist along the entire eastern property line. So I can go out there and do a site visit and take pictures, you know, I'll relay them back to the
If you
board.
remember Foxwood and Costco, Foxwood built right up to the line and didn't provide any buffer for landscaping. And now when the applicant came, I just don't wanna see we run into the same thing. And while we're on the subject of landscaping, I still personally would like to see, like, I wouldn't even call it a berm, a 2-foot raise in the front yard. Just so when, this is kind of a rural area of town, when cars are going by, they don't see the sea of pavement, they'll still see the building. That's my thought. If you look on Route 58, like Target has the hill in front, Lowe's has the hill in front, you don't see this, you know, you can see the store perfectly well, but you don't see the sea of parking. And I think a raise, cause I suspect this is gonna be a fairly busy lot, I think they're gonna do well here. I'd like to eliminate some of that view, if the board is in agreement. It's minor, if it's, you know, ink on paper at this point.
Alright.
I'll agree. I'll agree with it.
Yes, Freddie, cross easement.
Well, they are the site is gonna be accessed from the common roadway. You know, they're splitting it to parcel A, parcel B, parcel C. There is there will be an access easement across the common roadway, which will benefit both the Tractor Supply site and whatever potential site is developed on the western side of that roadway.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, down the east-west.
Yeah, so it's gonna be, that common roadway will have an access easement for people to come in and out of the site from both sides. The lighting plan has been revised to comply with, the exterior lighting portion of the town code. However, there is one, lighting note that just needs to be updated, to include the 3,000 degree color temperature. There was a little oversight on the design professional's part. They are still working to get their SWIP approved, from the engineering department. I haven't received, we received first round comments, they resubmitted, we're just waiting on an update on that. The applicant is working with the Department of Transportation. There were a number of comments that the DOT was gonna be requiring, and staff is gonna recommend that those conditions of the DOT be satisfied prior to the issuance of any building permit. Make sure make sure they're gonna be compliant with the DOT requirements. again, without having had time to adequately review, both of their responses, both to my staff report and Mr. Gaudiello's report, I don't really wanna comment too much on that. But that's where they are right now. Like I said, the main thing right now for them is getting their SWIP approved. I can absolutely go back and, you know, the board's in consensus, I will go back and tell them to put a, you know, 2-foot berm or hill, or whatever you wanna call it.
Just a raised bed.
Yeah, raise about 2 feet.
Would the board be okay, if they didn't do a berm, would they be okay with some, like, plantings, some shrubs that could maybe soften the
Well,
appearance?
the plantings are gonna be in there, but I think Ed's point is just to raise that whole planting
raise
area.
all planting bed up.
So the parking isn't so visible from the road, but you can yet still see the building.
Alright.
The other question I have, Greg, is, did we ask for, or does the state allow mountable curbs? Because I could see that with all the trucks and trailers going in and out of here, both for Sky Materials and the Tractor Supply, that it probably would be beneficial to have mountable curbs.
It wasn't mentioned in any of the DOT correspondence, but I will absolutely relay that to the applicant and they can work with it. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't, being that there's gonna be heavy traffic coming out, I just think it would be you're absolutely right, it would be beneficial to the site, so I will find that out. And then, like I said, beyond that, once they get their SWIP approved, you know, they can make the changes. I will go out, do a site visit along that eastern boundary. Or did the board want the 10-foot buffer?
Well-
Maybe it's even a compromise, I don't know, but we shouldn't put the onus on the guy that hasn't developed yet, it should be kind of split.
And to be consistent too, we don't wanna.
One other thing that I wanted to bring up before the board, the applicant had attended the architectural review board last year. The only comments from the ARB were to raise the parapet to screen the mechanicals of the rooftop. The applicant did redesign the project. Electronic versions were emailed to the ARB. The ARB had requested that the applicant come back in the September 26th meeting. Now that could potentially raise an issue where if they get their SWIP approved prior to our next meeting, which I believe is the 20th, would the board approve the project, being that they had already been to the architectural review board, revised based on that comments, or would the board want them to go back to ARB? It could delay them, you know, 2 weeks.
Yeah, I don't wanna delay them, time's
Alright.
money.
Well, they made a recommendation, it sounds like they
Yeah.
complied, right? So-
Alright, I just wanted to.
But they still have to go to ARB on the 26th?
Well, no, that's the question. If they get their SWIP approved, if they make the changes for the berm, clarify anything with the engineering comments, I didn't want going back to the ARB again to review a project that had already been reviewed to hold them up, so. If the board's okay, like I said, they did raise the parapet, it will screen the view of the mechanicals. I don't see the whole use in holding them up.
I agree.
Alright?
Alright, now the next item, item 4, minor subdivision map of Henry Silva.
Chris, did you give out the map? I only have 4 of the maps left, so I apologize, you may have to share.
You need one?
Ed, can you just give that to Chris, and Chris, you can pass that to me? Thank you. Good evening to the record, Jefferson Murphy, Planning and Development Administrator, to my left.
Henry Silverman.
This is an application that's been before us and come and gone over the last few years, and last year the applicant resubmitted a minor subdivision application for 3 lots. Staff report on this back in November of last year, and was given to you, at that time. This application is located at the northeast corner of Penny Road and Sound Avenue. It's an existing 7.980 acre parcel. It's zoned RA 80. So, northeast corner. And Anyway, as I was saying, this is a 7.988 parcel, the applicant is seeking to subdivide this into 3 lots. Each of the lots are over 100,000 square feet, therefore they all comply with the minimum dimensional requirements of the RA zoning district. In my November 14th, 2017 staff report, I noted a number of deficiencies with the application, and the applicant resubmitted information to staff at the beginning of this summer. However, there was still missing information, and we wrote Mr. Silverman a letter back in July 6th, indicating that we're still waiting for additional information. Mr. Silverman and I have been meeting and talking about this application during the course of the summer, and Mr. Silverman indicated to me that he has a pending health department application for the subdivision. The application has not been deemed complete by the health department because they are waiting for a secret determination by this board. Typically, with subdivision applications, you would not submit the subdivision application to the health department until you're either completed the subdivision review by the planning board, or you're at the end where you know that the lots lines have been gone through the whole review with the public hearings, to the secret review. So to get a secret determination at this time is in staff's opinion, premature. And the reason for that, this is property, if you're aware of it, has a very large wetland in the middle of it. It's heavily constrained, and the development envelopes are limited. And the wetland flagging that was done on the property was done over 10 years ago. Jeff Seaman has reviewed the application. He prepared a report to you dated August 17th. I don't know if you got a copy of that? That's not a copy.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna let Jeffrey, speak to his recommendations on it.
Well, briefly, my recommendation is I'd like to be able to, evaluate the subdivision with a degree of accuracy that would be appropriate for, knowing the size of the wetland as it exists today, not where it was, possibly 10 years ago. It may have gotten larger, it maybe has gotten smaller, but I can't tell that because we don't have an updated flagging. If it is consistent with what it was, back in 2007, that would be fine, but I have nothing to compare that with.
Also, for the record, this application has been before the CAC, and they are also recommending the wetlands be reflagged.
Alright, this application's been, in the works for over 10 years, well over, and, at that point, the pond was, we refer to it as the pond, did exist. Now we have pictures of it as of today and this summer, and it doesn't exist, so it's dried up. I attribute it to, there's at least a dozen, dry wells put in along Sound Avenue. The county has put in dry wells on Northville Turnpike, so that diverts quite a bit of the, typical runoff. The town does have pipes onto my property that occasionally does flood this, but there are building envelopes that can be built far enough back. We do have pictures to submit. The, CEQA review, which health department needs to get going, that's been in the works for years. We had done a lot line revision, which was approved by you, but the buyer of the property to my north, decided he really wanted a single and separate lot, not a lot line revision. So you did approve that with this CEQA review. So now, we'd like to hopefully use the same CEQA review.
We see the photos.
Oh, yeah, and they're for you guys. Yeah, the CEQA review was done, 2/22/05. And I believe, no, there's a newer, I'm sorry.
And
4/29/09, so it's been done twice. You know, I don't wanna really reinvent the wheel here, but, I need that to get health department.
Right, it looks to me, if you're correct, that it's, a lot smaller than it was 10 years, reflagging's gonna be to your benefit.
Right, the only problem is, then we take a million steps backwards. You know, just the years here, I mean, we do have a buyer, and buyers don't wait forever. You know, know, and even with the buyer we have, he just wants an open space for animals, that kind of thing. I don't believe he has the immediate plans to build on it, but again, it's a smart move on his part to buy a buildable lot, not a, you know, useless lot. It does have enough room, even with, as it's flagged now, to build a house, with decent setbacks.
This is lot one you're talking about.
Correct. And lot two would also have, sizable setbacks.
This goes back to the prior conversation we had in the last application, is that we do not approve the map with the development envelope.
And I would say, for the record, it's been 3 years, there hasn't been water to speak of in the pond, area. And it's designated as a vernal pond, if I have my wording right.
Jeffrey, is the presence of water the only indicator of a wetland?
So, for the benefit of everyone, correct way to delineate the wetland boundary would be to identify the vegetation, the soils, and the hydrology that would support it. If indeed the drainage structures that have been installed locally have diverted that flow of water, and the soils are not indicative and the vegetation is not indicative of wetland, then this wetland boundary may have changed dramatically from what it was before. And my difficulty is to provide a CEQA determination or any type of a final CEQA report with insufficient information, knowing well that this wetland has likely changed in size, and if it is not, if an analyst goes out and just simply verifies that the line is where the line is, and I can finish my CEQA report based on that, then that will be rather straightforward. But if it has changed, it's hard, even going into future steps, as to whether or not there are developable parcels beyond just this initial review on the subdivision. Otherwise, we'd sort of be going through wetland analyses and CEQAs on each individual parcel when a development came forward. It would be to everyone's advantage to have that updated now, just as you might update a survey or change a lot line.
Jeffrey makes an excellent point. The subdivision, if it's approved, is not only for the benefit of the applicant, it's also for the benefit of knowing this information for the buyers. This is someone who's going to sell the property to one person, to 3 people. They come and develop it, now it becomes our headache to try to wrangle this issue of where the wetland line is, whether as part of the CEQA law requires is that we do this analysis up front, so we can make an educated decision as to where these lines should be finalized and approved.
For example, if all of these lots, or some of these lots were to go into a preservation program where the county would come in and buy it, they do not consider wetland areas as part of developable land, so those development rights are evaluated differently. And we've done that in Riverhead, we've seen that on ag parcels in the past. So if this wetland has gotten smaller and any of these rights were to be sold someday, the value would increase, not decrease. The wetland line has stayed where it is. You can probably calculate that the way it is, or if it's enlarged, you know, it would be a subtraction.
Right, the offer has been made over the past years to the county and the town. I was ignored, but now the land's too valuable, the bell was rung. So, and also, when I did this application, the CEQA review was still current. You know, the way I look at it is the system took so long that if it's the 10 years now, I believe when this was handed in, it was, you know, it was less than the 10 years. But it's just, you know, it's dragged and dragged. for us to go back now, the hardship is, we're talking just the way between the surveyor, the flagger, going back to health department, going back to you guys, you know, I feel like it's years, you know, and it's kinda enough's enough, this has been kicked around long enough. What's held it up? That's my question, what's held it up? For 10 years, what's held it up? Is it when we held it up, or is it you finding a buyer? No, even that, we've tried the subdivision before, just to really make this ridiculous. My first application, this was zoned half-acre zoning, if we really went back to Rick Hanley those days.
Sure.
So, you know.
That's not what I'm saying though, you're saying 10 years, but I'm asking you, what's held it up? Is it the fact that you haven't found a buyer?
No, well, between that
That's what it
and
seems like to me,
things
so
change.
I have to tell you, I'd like to see it
Done.
reflagged, yeah. I mean, it's to your benefit,
Right, I'm just looking at the time frame.
it's, again, you know.
When did we initially make the request that it should be flagged?
Back, my staff report was dated November 14th of last year, when the first time I presented a formal report to you and to Mr. Silverman, and it includes the recommendation for the reflagging.
So Jeff, in your experience, how long does that whole process take? I know he's concerned about time.
For an analyst to, I went out and looked over the fence. It has a few anomalies on the site, but I don't think more than a day in the field to flag it. And a surveyor could follow, pick up the flags, you know, in about 2 or 3 hours. So it's not an extended period of time, it's not months or, you know.
Would the town reflag, I mean,
Even
would you be able to reflag it as the town?
We only verify after it's flagged and
Right.
pre-submitted, then we'll go and check the flag and say, yes, this is, you know, we concur
Right.
with the results.
There's several local companies that do it, I had it done within 2 weeks.
Right, well, actually, when we got the letter, we requested the reflagging, but I haven't even heard back yet, so that already is weeks.
Requested it from who?
The company, through Nathan Corwin, the land surveyor, who hopefully called the company, I can't, it was 3 initials. Company.
There's several companies that do it.
Well, it'd make most sense to get it done by the same company again.
Sure, if they're acting timely.
Alright.
Those catch basins on Penny's Road and the drain pipes that lead to the area, are they still active?
Yes.
There's still an inlet on the east side of Penny's. I think it discharges right to this
Yeah.
depression.
Onto my property, and that's another whole issue.
And I see that there's a, monitoring well there. Who owns that and what's the purpose of it, do we know?
There's actually 2.
I see the one here.
Yeah, there's one up, towards, Sound Avenue more. Yeah, there's one approximately, right on here?
Just
Yeah,
put it a little up.
there's one here, and there's one up here. I believe they're both Suffolk County, but I'm suspecting there's something to do with Northville.
Are they physically on your property, or are they within the town, or the right
Ooh,
of way?
probably on the right of way,
So we don't know?
and even, yeah, that right of way's gotten wider.
Actually, it's just a question about, lot 3, which has an existing dwelling, right? But then you show a lot of other buildings, are they new or existing?
They say proposed.
No, no.
Oh, I'm sorry, on lot 3, oh, they all exist, I'm sorry.
Everything on
On
here?
lot 3, everything exists.
They all
It's
exist,
basically an
okay.
as-built.
But
Yes.
the barn,
And they all have COs, pre-existing non-conforming
Okay.
use. And just when we did the, lot line revision process, had to put in the new septic system, which is all, you know, expensive thing, and also that was to meet health department requirements. So we had it for the lot line revision with the new septic system that's all certified. And the house is a legal 2-family. And it was a commercial system, so that's all certified from when we did the lot line revision.
So it feels like we've done all this, and the key word was lot line revision or subdivision was the, you know, I'd consider it a mistake using the word lot line revision. In the secret review then, was happy with everything, so,
I personally don't see any reason why there would be a lengthy delay.
alright,
I personally would get it flagged, I do think it's to your benefit, I think it's poor planning if we don't.
okay.
I don't know about the other members, but I don't see any impediments to moving forward, you know, rather quickly.
I think it might, as you, when we pointed out, it could also be to his benefit that the wetland has shrunk.
I think it will be.
Alright.
I think it's to your benefit.
So it sounds like you have your majority answer here, you'd like to see it done.
Alright, we will,
We can get it done quickly.
be using the phone tomorrow.
Yep.
Alright, and then we're pretty much, as far as the rest of the application, we're fine on. Yeah,
Chris, you and I talk again, and we'll go over the rest of the stuff.
okay,
If there's anything else, I mean, we can do them all at the same time and wrap it up.
good.
Jeffrey, you go.
You can provide that to someone who's, if they can get as close to that for verification of the wetland flagging, they can use that as a guide.
Good.
Is it a requirement that after they do it, you have to go out and check it?
I just have to take a quick look, yeah,
All the short plan.
yes.
Make sure that it's a qualified wetland person, because we've had in the past where the person was a question as to his credentials. It's to everybody's benefit that,
I was gonna say coordinate that, just tell them what it is.
It says JMO Consulting, Environmental Consulting, that's what it says right here.
Which one was it?
It says JMO.
Okay, yeah.
Are you familiar with them?
I don't know if they're still active.
but as Ed pointed out, there are any number of companies out there that do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Would you suggest one? Would you suggest one? No?
We don't,
Okay.
but,
Okay, right.
I'm sure
Sorry,
the
I should've-
surveyor has
shouldn't
one.
have said that.
if you wanna come to the planning department and foil other examples, we can certainly do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good, next item on the agenda is a public hearing for Bating Hollow Cottage Condominium 22. So they, Greg, are they here?
The applicant lives in New Jersey, I believe their there's a representative here, I believe the contractor is here.
If you could just go to the podium, this is an actual public hearing, and just state your name for the record and explain what you're seeking to do here.
And, we just changing the deck shaped a little bit bigger, that's it.
You the owner of the property?
No,
Oh, you,
they're in New Jersey, so they live 2 hours away, so they can't really come every time. It's a very simple project.
Do they have approval from the condo association?
I guess so.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, they received HOA sign off, I mean, they're looking to expand an existing deck. The only reason it's before the planning board is because of an existing case where the zoning board of appeals gave the planning board providence over any sort of expansion within the Bating Hollow Cottage condominium. As I stated, they do have, sign off from the HOA of the Bating Hollow Cottage condominium. The plan was revised at a staff recommendation to include some drainage to capture the runoff from the house. The site plan has been revised to include that. I also just want to say, I did speak with the owner this morning. She emailed me proof of mailings as well as the proof of postings. I said that was acceptable, but she does need to provide that physically, so she will get that to us. But the property was posted in a timely fashion and the mailings did go out.
It's a small deck, I don't have any other concerns.
No. Anyone from the public have any questions or comments on this application? Anyone from the public?
Make a motion to close the public hearing for Bating Hollow Cottage condominium number 22, so moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and seconded to close the public hearing for Bating Hollow Cottage Condominium 22, all in favor? Aye, opposed, public hearing's closed, okay, thank you. Okay, any public comments on the resolutions in front of the board tonight, any public comments? Okay, resolution 1 on the agenda.
I'll move resolution number 72, Long Island Sports Park amends the approval conditions of the planning board resolution, number 49, so moved.
Second?
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve resolution 72 for Long Island Sports Park, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, resolution is approved. Number 2 on the agenda.
73, minor subdivision of Joseph LaRusso. Resolution schedule a public hearing on a 2-lot minor subdivision, seeking approval to legalize a subdivision which is done by deed in 1950.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve resolution 73 for a minor subdivision, Joseph LaRusso, scheduling a public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution's approved. Okay, public comment. Any public comment on any matter in front of the planning board?
If there's nobody else to speak, Mr. Chairman, I had a thought I'd like to run by the board, not for tonight, but for future discussions of waterless landscaping and maybe some codification of that. I don't know if we could do it at a regular planning meeting or at a public, work session. Waterless.
Oh, okay.
Rocks, grasses that don't, require landscaping.
I don't know if the board's aware of this, before I moved to Long Island in 1998, I lived in Reno, Nevada, elevation 5,000 square feet, summertime humidity is below 10%, they get no water. They have what's called xeriscaping, X-E-R-I scaping, and they actually have a code requirement that limits the amount of water-dependent vegetation on single-family lots. They are very zealot about water consumption in a desert community. So, well aware of it, I've actually got books in my office about the subject. It used to be on Long Island that water quality was the issue, not water quantity. Now it's water quantity has become an issue. I don't know if you read the article about town of Southwold. They're in some dire situation because the aquifer is being depleted, and with saltwater intrusion and sea level rise, it's gonna be an issue that has become more and more important to us.
I just think as the planning board, we should come up with solutions, advise the town board, and hopefully they can codify some of these things. I'll give you a perfect example. There's a restaurant in Montauk called the Inlet Seafood. There isn't a flower, there isn't a blade of grass, it's just all natural sea grasses, and it's absolutely beautiful. So it can be done. We're always irrigating and planting grass. I think it's time to evolve, and where the planning board should take the lead on some of these, there's good ways to do it. There's a lot of creative people that come up with some creative ideas.
The board concurs, be happy, I'm on the code committee, for the town. I'll be happy to bring that issue before them and start looking into it.
Can we discuss it as a
Well,
work session?
I couldn't agree more with the point you're making, Ed. I happened to sit on several, water-related organizations in Suffolk County and New York State, and it is a very hot topic. We sit here as a planning board and approve application after application without any real restrictions, knowing that there is a large concern. I don't know that some of the examples that you've cited have been proven by regulatory agencies or those reports agreed by them, but nonetheless, it's an issue that we certainly could do better on, and I would suggest, Dick, that we perhaps invite the Water District to a work session so that we could discuss this in detail and work with them to, even if something as simple as a 2-lot minor subdivision, are we requiring, low moisture irrigation, maybe, the extreme would be the xeriscaping, plumbing fixtures that are water efficient, the landscaping that is required, there's smart irrigation controllers, there's a lot of things that are being done throughout Long Island to address the water concern that I think, we should be doing here also. So I think in the near future, we should invite the Water District and discuss the issue with them and how we could help them with their long-term planning.
I will invite Mark to come to a future meeting
afternoon meeting? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Will do. Okay.
I think before we do that, though, we've gotta have something a little bit more concrete to talk about in terms of planning, even in terms of code.
Will do.
Some literature to start off with, I guess, you know?
Google.
I'd like to move the minutes of the August 16th, 2018 minutes, so moved.
Second. Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the August 16th, 2018 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next meeting is September 20th, 3 o'clock meeting. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you.
Have a nice weekend, everybody.